I know we spoke quickly on email, and you asked me to remind you on the call. Do you happen
Mm-hmm.
to remember who that company was that needed to make the sales team understand the value of the creative team as opposed to giving away the creative?
And where do you remember hearing this? Because I don't remember half the things I say. That's being generous. Okay.
It was episode 70. It was about presenting live. Tina had a bunch of questions about it, and you were talking about stories. And the stories that you were talking about was a company asked you to help onboard new sales team, and you told her, well, the first thing you're doing is you're giving away your creative. The sales team needs to be made aware of the value that creative brings and stop giving it away. And you were talking about a movie, how people are like, there's the director and the EP, and there's a bunch of different people that make a movie. And I was curious to know who that company was, because I'm looking to speak to companies that did that and made a switch to value their creative and not give it away, and how they went about doing that, because I'm having that issue right now. We're getting a lot of pushback.
Perfect. Let's talk about that. You guys understand what JD was asking? I have no recollection of ever saying that part, so you guys have to forgive me. People are like, I can't believe you said that. I'm like, I don't remember what I said yesterday, man. I just don't. I'm here. I'm now. Like, what do you want to talk about? So JD's question is, he's having some issues because salespeople tend to want to just do whatever they can to close the sale. That's pretty much what they do. They make promises on behalf of the teams that have to make the work, and it creates a friction between sales and production. This is not some story that I have to talk about in the abstract. This is something I've had to deal with most of my career, okay? My executive producers, no matter who was in the hot seat, always wanted to close new business, and they were willing to compromise on just about anything because all they cared about was the number. So if they had to cut the bid, they would do that. If they had to promise extra revisions, they would do that. So that was a problem because it was creating a fissure between us and them. It created a kind of two-party system within our own company, okay? So we needed to change things. We needed to change the protocol. We had to sit down together and work through this over the course of several weeks to sit down and talk about how do we make decisions, what is in the best interest of the company moving forward. We need to do work that's creative. We need to do things that are sustainable, meaning people will pay us in a timeline that's compatible with the team. Here's what we're not willing to budge on. We're not willing to budge on X, Y, and Z. We had these meetings. It was difficult for the person to understand this because all they can see was a number. They just wanted to close more business, regardless if that piece of business was going to cost the company money, because there was zero accountability for them there. They could not understand that. So in this instance, we needed to empower the creatives to make decisions, which made the executive producers not very happy. But for the survival of the company, for the lifeblood of the company, we needed to do that. And I told one of my producers at one time, I remember, because I was very upset that they said certain things during the call. I said, here's the thing. If you want to make those promises, you run this job, but I will not be running it. You figure out how to do it for that amount of money. Or you do the extra revision. You know, don't promise 5 ideas when I told you I'm going to do 3. Now I have to generate 2 extra ideas for what reason? Because you were so enthusiastic about overselling. So one of the key ideas here is to under-promise and over-deliver, because I can over-deliver when you don't promise too much. We also need to understand that creative ideas should not be given away for free, that you're going to have to onboard new clients without having us to do free work. Once they understand the parameters, I think they're going to have a better time trying to figure it out. If you read Blair Enns' book, Pricing Creativity, he said, generally speaking, you do not let the person who does the sales in on any of the money conversations, because what they'll do is they'll slash the price. That's the first thing that they'd resort to.
One of the key things you said there was onboard new clients. So you continue doing what you're doing for your existing clients?
Ask that more specifically.
So you said when you onboard new clients, let them know up front that you're not giving away creative, but how do you handle the clients that you have existing who are expecting that free creative?
Okay, that's a very good question. If you work in commercial advertising, which we sort of still do, there is a protocol of people pitching ideas for free, unpaid, and it's highly speculative. We hate that industry, but those are the rules. Everybody that participates in the industry does the exact same thing. Same thing with main title design, and sometimes also for TV shows. That's why we want to get out of that business, okay? So if you have a client that is used to seeing this kind of stuff, you have to have a conversation with your internal team. Are we okay walking away from this client if they're not willing to work the way we want to work? Hopefully the answer is yes. Just because you've been abused and you're used to it doesn't mean you have to take it anymore, okay? So you can have that conversation. You can say to them, look, here's the thing. For many years, we've done it this way. We find that this to be counterproductive for both you and for us, and here's the reasons why. So moving forward, whenever you ask us to look at a project, we're going to be happy to talk to you, but we're not going to be pitching on these projects anymore. We understand you need options. You need to do what's right for you and do due diligence. And if it doesn't make sense for you to continue to work with us, appreciate the business. Thank you for all the years of work together.